So, the TARDIS landed. No.
Well, there is time travel. Maybe we'll have a TARDIS. And we've got the basement.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger on the inside. Oh, we should put one of those time circles inside the basement. Then it would literally become a TARDIS. We could just put it wherever. And yeah. Anyway. No, that would not work. That would be weird. So we finished the fight with the Drow last episode.
Oh yeah, mopping up.
Yeah, we
they were interfering with your ability to conduct science.
Yeah.
Because they had respawned.
Yeah.
Due to your time messing around.
And we did a little more science this episode, but it kind of freaked Croesus out, so we stopped doing science for a bit.
Well, we had just finished killing the Drow.
Yeah.
And Croesus really wanted. He reminded everyone we were here to save Stacey's fake family.
Yeah.
So
we should go do that.
And lots of other people wanted to science.
First thing we want to do is go topside and confirm that yes, we had in fact saved the city. And we finally grudgingly convinced Croesus that yeah, let's go topside and have a look. Mm-hmm. And we looked around, and sure enough, the city is still in the process of time shifting whatever.
Right, so things are kind of hazy.
Yeah, there's all these crumbled, collapsed buildings, and there's non-collapsed buildings, but the non-collapsed buildings are winning. Mm-hmm. You know, it's fading out from devastation to not devastation. And we're like, yay, we did it. We saved Allonwë from one of its many devastations. And then Aurora was super duper intensely wanting to now visit the future and talk to her future self.
Who's up in the sky.
And I guess it's understandable that she would be super focused on that, but...
Well, and Serendipity also really just wanted to see how it turned out. I think everyone wanted to see how it turned out, except for Croesus.
Cricket was fine either way. Cricket wanted what everyone else wanted.
As usual.
Yeah, well, her advice is generally, let's go back to the glory days of the Empire of Endless Flowers and go talk to the Serpent Queen. That's probably the best approach. But she'll do whatever.
Back when the world made sense.
Yeah. If you want to fix things, go to when things went wrong. When the Empire turned to slavery and stuff. Well, it always has slavery, but when, there was an ideal opportunity to end it early. But no. How did she finally convince everyone? We ended up going to the future to have a look.
It's because she just said, I'm just going to the circle while you guys are fighting.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. We were all arguing about it. And so then Serendipity, Van Gogh, Nora, Toppler, Tower, Shepherd, Soul Stars, Through Time just walked off to go to the circle. And Aurora headed off after her. And Cricket was like, oh, holy crap, and went after them. And then Hank and Croesus came along because they were left.
They were left alone, like, hey, what? The ladies all just walked away. Crap.
Yeah, the party does very often wind up split along those lines. But anyway,
I think Hank wanted to see the future too. He just wasn't so adamant at walking off.
Yeah.
So anyway, everyone wanted to see how the future turned out, except for Croesus. The Serendipity was really concerned about going past the Warforged on her own. She just very quiet, slowly inched by them she had to go by them to get into where the circle was. And they just remained motionless, except as she went in and as she was swinging the door shut, one of them sprinted forward, bolted forward, and held it in its hand so that she couldn't fully shut the door, and then stayed motionless again.
Yeah. I think that the Warforged were trying to keep us from splitting the party. Especially across time, because then the DM would have to account for that. Anyway, we went to the future, and it was a horrifying maelstrom of shifting probability and ghostly form and flux.
Really?
Yes. Everything was just in total changeance, or whatever you want to call that state. And we all got will attacks that were doing the whole time forgetty thing just from being there.
Oh wow!
And I think everyone got hit by that except Hank or something.
Except Aurora.
Aurora, yeah. And we were like, oh, holy crap! And we jumped back to the present.
And they couldn't get a hold of Aurora in the sky or anything.
Because it was just sometimes she was in the sky, she was flickering in and out. But it looked like what was happening. Oh, we did stay long enough to figure out what direction the change was going. And it also turned out that our presence there, or rather the Panadar's presence there, was helping to more quickly establish a single timeline. The Panadar is all about fixing.
Where did you get the name for it?
The Drow knew its name.
Oh.
And it turns out the name is a name from the Bones of the Earth.
They're 13 in
Yeah.
High Elvish.
Yeah.
The Bones of the Earth don't have names, they just have numbers.
Yeah.
Lower numbers are more powerful, typically. There's like 1,000 of them.
Yeah. So there's
13's pretty high then.
Yeah.
But there's 12 that are more powerful than this.
Wow.
We can shift the course of history with 13.
Well, that is one reason to keep them hidden.
Probably number one is a Dalek or something. Anyway. So, yeah, it looked like the Drow, it wasn't the Eternal Night scenario anymore. The Eternal Night scenario was fading away, and a living city of non-Drow was fading in.
Okay.
So somehow, by preventing that earthquake, we've prevented the Drow from taking over the world and destroying the sun or something? We never even figured out what happened in the first place, but we prevented it.
Right.
I don't know what was going on, but we put a stop to it. Apparently.
I actually thought that was going to be a lot harder. But
Just stop that plan.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll find out what that plan actually was.
Silly Drow.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue. So we did it. Hooray, we did it.
What do we do? Oh.
It worked. So we took refuge back in the present. And then we went, after we sort of regained our senses a little bit, we went in search of Stacya's fake family. We went back to the...
right, the people you were supposed to rescue.
Yeah.
Which probably don't really exist.
Yeah, I suspect that we're on a fool's errand here. But Process is quite adamant about it. And it does mean we get to kill some Drow. Though really, if we were to go back in time to talk with the Serpent Queen, the Drow would never exist in the first place, so... Anyway. No one's focusing on the big picture here. So, we went to...
no one pointed out that Croesus was wrong now that I think about it. Because he argued for helping the people in the city, and the other people argued for going back in time and preventing the earthquake from happening at all. And it turns out that the going back in time worked well.
Yeah.
So...
Well, Cricket is like the very last person who'd ever say, I told you so. At least not to her owners. She's the sort where, she'll suggest a brilliant idea, and then one of the other characters will be like, wait, I have an idea, then repeat the brilliant idea. And Cricket will go, good idea! You're brilliant! She has no personal...
Good idea, sir.
Yeah.
Of course it's a good idea.
I thought of it.
Anyway. So, we went back to that big round room that the lava and lightning elementals had used to have.
Right.
And that got taken over by Drow.
They moved back in.
And there were the blood smears on the floor that had gone the opposite direction from the way we went. I'm sure John set it all up expecting us to follow the blood smears, and we just went completely off the rails and wound up in the future. But So we followed the blood smears. And Cricket got to do some more scouting ahead. It worked out really well. We got to the next little bit. There was an area that it was old buried neighborhood of Allonwës. From like the very first iteration of Allonwë. Old stuff.
Wow.
Yep. It's like mud brick construction.
Right.
And we encountered this weird thing that was like, it was a drow, but it had been hollowed out and was being run like a puppet by this goo inside.
At first I just saw this drow sort of moving in this stilted manner, and Cricket went back and reported, and the party came tromping up, and it started about to do its alarm, but then they just shot it. It died instantly. It was a minion, and it just collapsed and oozed out from. Basically, it was hollowed out except for about 3 centimeters of flesh all around the outside.
Yeah.
And its legs and insides were sort of slit, and the black goo oozed out and then faded away, just like the Time Mages did, and then just left this dead drow body there.
So Time Mages are goo now, apparently. Very tricky. But anyway, so I scouted ahead some more and found a bunch more of these guys, and also this weird thing that looked like some sort of weird undead giant with a smaller person stuck inside its ribcage.
Found Krang?
No, we did not find Krang. That would have been awesome.
One thing they
I
actually
scouted that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
One thing I noticed is one of the drow they found that was like that they killed was that drow that had run away in the previous fight, and then something had attacked it, and he screamed, and then he never came back, and he was hollowed out.
Yeah.
Serendipity did an Arcana check on those things.
Yeah, she found out what they were. They were like, what were they?
Skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers, yeah.
She recognized them because sometimes they bug the gnomes. So there's some kind of horrible monstrosity that follows you out and walks around in your skin.
Typical gnomish vermin. So we saw that, or Cricket saw through scouting, around the corner there were all these guys. And so we were like, okay, how could they're waiting to ambush us? And I'd rolled really high on my stealth check. They had not noticed me scouting. So we were like, okay, let's counter ambush them. So we looked for a way to get around behind them. And there wasn't a way to get around behind them. But as we were doing that, we discovered one of the buried buildings. We peeked in through a window, and there was a whole crowd of those minion skinwalker guys waiting inside the door, ready to come out.
Drow and the cultist elves and random elves from the city, all sort of milling around.
Yeah, and they were like waiting to ambush us, and we saw them through the window. And they're all in a huddled crowd, so we're like, hey, Serendipity, look! Ben Will started more top of the tower, Shepherd Souls, tries to time. There's a whole bunch of minions in a small area.
And they're purposely crowded together as close as possible so they can burst out of the door.
Yeah. It's like Christmas for you. So she blowed them up.
They all died but 2, and then Hank killed those.
Yeah.
But
We tried to do it sort of quietly. She didn't use a fireball. She used her prismatic spray thing, but...
well, what they didn't know is previously, I forget just how this worked, but the group of scary guys had detected them, and as they were like moving back to like prepare their ambush, they had actually been pushing their ambush forward.
That's why they were so much closer.
And they were actually like just about to ambush you, because I was keeping track of where they were. They were just about to ambush you when you blew up all those guys, and they didn't even know you'd blown them up. Because I forgot to do this during the session, but I was going to have them call for those minions to swarm you. And but
cool.
Because originally the minions were going to pinch you, like they were going to come here, and but then you guys went into that little alley, and they're like, "Sweet, let's just catch them in there," and they just went and attacked you, and it just so happened at the same time.
Cool. Here I thought we'd somehow flubbed our quiet take out the minion thing, but no.
No, they would have attacked you either way. But
So, working out in our favor unexpectedly. All right. So they attacked us, but we had gone down this tiny, narrow little alley, like really narrow. It was like 1 square wide. To do the fire through the window thing. And the far end of the alley was collapsed. So we're basically down a 1 tile wide, or 1 square wide corridor with no exit. And the baddies are at the front. But it's okay, because that gives us, an excellent defensive position. They can't get round us.
They do have some range, though, so...
One of them tried, and it didn't work out well for them. Cricket was sort of down at the back.
So just to give a sense of who these guys are, there's a big hulking beast who's sort of hunching down, and has this little emaciated humanoid in his ribcage reaching out pitifully for help.
We figured it was probably the bad guy in charge of it all.
And there was a drow and 2 of those cultist elves, the blue and white cultist elves, and one of those magma elementals. And one of their first concerns is, why are these guys all working together?
We figured they've all been hollowed out, although I'm not sure how.
No, they weren't behaving like the hollowed out guys, because they weren't shambling around. So.
Wow. It's sort of a question that's irrelevant right now. They're trying to kill us. We're trying to kill them. Once that's resolved, then we'll figure out the whys.
Kill first.
And then find out why.
Yeah. It's a valid approach once you're actually in the middle of the whole killing thing. Which we are.
I mean, they're trying to kill you.
Yeah. So Aurora got next to the big guy and did her black hole thing that weakens him, which is nice. And he got blinded. Who blinded him? Was it Serendipity Vengos or
I think it was Aurora as well. Maybe it was. Yeah, I think it was Aurora. She must use an action point.
Yeah.
Because she did her big dazzling light. And one thing she noticed was that the Drow didn't seem to care. Usually when she does her dazzling light on the Drow, it does extra damage.
Yeah.
And he was just like, whatever, didn't care.
I think it's one of the reasons why I assume they're Skinwalkers. Maybe they're just more experienced Skinwalkers. They've learned how to control their corpses a bit better. Oh. We'll find out when we kill them. So that was a good opening move. Oh, and Hank dropped a hammer on the guy and killed the little guy inside the ribcage. And so we were all like, yay, the boss monster's dead. Now his minions are not going to have any leadership. But no, they kept fighting. I think I may have misinterpreted.
After that was when that monster tried to attack Croesus, and he just reached out for Croesus, and Croesus was drawn into his ribcage and shrunken down so he could fit, and started shrinking inside of his ribcage.
But then he saved out of that.
He hit Croesus, and Tim was so cocky because he has
all his defenses.
You can't hurt me thing, but it doesn't stop the status effects. It just makes it no damage, right? So it did no damage, but he still got sucked inside of his ribcage, and But I allowed him. I was merciful because the status effect is removed from play. You can take no actions, but I let him do his free action to get an extra save because it was appropriate to the situation, even though technically by the rules he didn't get it, he should be able to get it. So I let him, and he saved out, and almost immediately got out of it. Yeah. He ripped his way out of his ribcage. And that was actually interesting because he ended up falling on the other side of him, which put him next to. Did he? Yeah, he ended up on the other side of him.
Yeah.
Which let him attack some of the ranged guys. Because his square had already been taken out.
And he's flanking now the big guy. I think he's fine. He can move to flank him if he's not.
Yeah. He didn't flank him because it wasn't tactical, but whatever.
Meanwhile, Cricket is at the back of the crowd. Sort of doing support and ranged. And one of those blue guys, how did he get on the other side? Some sort of teleporty type?
He teleported.
Yeah, it was a teleporty thing. He teleported like onto the other side of Cricket.
But just how the movement worked, that took his whole turn.
Yeah.
So he teleported into the party and then ended his turn.
Yeah, well, sort of on the far side of the party. Flank the party, as it were. Adjacent to Cricket, far side.
And I had this awesome thing.
Oh.
So he teleported in right next to Cricket, and then I had another person who had a ranged attack. They don't actually know what this did. I was just so disappointed, though. And tried to hit Hank with it that would have made Hank immobilized, so that it would just be Cricket and this other thing alone, and Hank couldn't do anything about it. But I missed.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because the next turn was Cricket. She used boots of, unhindered movement or something like that. It lets you move for around through enemy squares without drawing attacks opportunity. So even though it was a one square wide alleyway and this guy was there, I just walked through him over the other side, went a little further, then turned around and I used Staggering Note, and I shoved him up against Hank, who then hammered him. So now, instead of him flanking us, we've got him flanked, and he's next to Hank. So he's still alive at the end of the session, but I don't think he's going to last for very long, because he's in a bad position there.
It would have been so awesome, because basically the party's trapped in a single file, and I have enemies on both ends of that, but no longer.
Yeah. So it's all the elves and drow and whatnot don't feel particularly threatening. The big guy is very worrisome. We've been focusing a lot on him, and it's been working. The focusing. We've been really hammering him hard, and we've been keeping him from doing stuff. But that's because we're worried about him. So, at the end, we didn't finish the combat in this session. But if by the end of this combat, he hasn't done anything cool, well, he's already sucked Croesus in for briefly, but if he hasn't done anything else cool, it's not because he's not a scary, cool monster, it's because we have been going all out to keep him from doing whatever it is he's going to do. Because that whole sucking things into the chest thing is a little bit worrisome.
Yeah.
I hope it's once again another one of those feeding on your soul type kinds of things. Because then Cricket can Guardians counter someone and starve the thing.
Guaranteed 100% soul free.
Yep.
It's just like drinking Diet Pop. It still tastes good, but it doesn't nourish you.
So, I wonder why the future was all horrible. But now I even more so wonder what happened to fix it. I mean, we did tentatively at least prevent this earthquake. Did that have such ramifications to make the future not terrible? I don't know. I mean, I still wish we wouldn't have messed with this at all, but if we are actually making such a major positive difference, then I guess that's good, but I still think this is a bad idea.
Okay, we fixed the past, which should mean the future is better. Probably. We should check. No, Croesus, we should check now. We'll come back and save the imaginary family. I don't think they exist. It's too weird. Contrived. It's too contrived. Let's go to the future. Let's go back to the present. The future is weird.
I really thought the dream would be over. And then we were in total chaos. And now I'm in someone else's ribcage. And you know what? I'm done wigging out about this. I'm just gonna shrug it off. And when I see Stacia again, I am going to give her such a talking to.
Dear Diary, today we went back to the future and discovered that everything seems to be getting back to okay. The Drow city seems to be disappearing, and my brother was disappearing, and the other version of me was going away. And I am so immensely relieved. That was not a good future. Oh, it is a huge relief. And so now we're following Croesus's suggestion and looking for the townspeople who seem to have disappeared. And we found this really ancient version of this city, and it's so interesting, and it's just such a relief. Such a relief that future isn't, well, hopefully won't happen. Now I just need to find my brother and get him back where he belongs, and everything will be okay. Oh yeah, and also, hopefully nobody will get stuck in that guy's chest. Blech.